Good morning, everybody. This is Dana B and Charlie M and KJG, Kent G from the Mountain Patriots Educational Ministries. Today is 5/29, 2025 in the year of our Lord. And as you know, Mountain Patriots Educational Ministries has 7 different ministries that we work on all over the county of Frederick County and abroad. And we want to try to bring people back together so that they know who is actually in the community, what they do for the community, who's running in the community, and so forth, so that we can get a better handle and a better grip on what's going on in our lives here and our own part of a slice of God's land here. And we've decided that what we were going to do this year is we're going to talk to every one of the candidates that we possibly can that are running for anything here in Frederick County and surrounding counties to help bring this whole system back to God. And today we have the pleasure of talking with a friend of ours, Mike Guevremont, who's running for the Redbud uh, uh, Board of Supervisors position, which is opening up this year. And first of all, I want to say, Mike, welcome to the 3% with Dana and Charlie. And we really welcome you here this morning, my friend.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate the time you are giving me and all of the candidates that are running, and thank you for your ministry and what you do for the greater community. So, it's a mutual appreciation here. Thank you.
Well, we're all in this together. I mean, that's the way we look at it. And I always, after I go through everything real quick, I want to bring up to folks that we do have Mountain Patriots Educational Ministries. Our Mountain Patriots group has the Wake Up Winchester #8 Health and Freedom Conference, which is over at the Millwood Bingo Hall on the 28th of June. And we call it a civics class, but it's a fun civics class, Mike. It's where somebody from the commissioner will actually explain what they do and what does the senator do and what does the sheriff do and what does the delegate do, so that people not only get a chance to meet these folks, but understand what position they actually hold, so they know who to speak with about whatever situation that they have. So go to wakeupwinchester.com, get a ticket. We also have a his and her sweepstakes. Charlie will tell you about that in a second. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Charlie, because I know you have some questions, and we want to thank you, Mike, for being here. All yours, Charlie.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Charlie.
Welcome, Mike. We're tickled to have you
Yeah, we are.
visit us and share things with us. I actually live in Redbud, so
Hmm.
it's very important for the replacement of Blaine Dunn to um, step into his shoes and fill those. And we greatly appreciate you sharing it. But we want to know a little bit more about you on a personal level before you got into or threw your hat in the ring for politics. Where did you come from? What did you do? Um, Tell us about who Mike Guevremont really is. Would you do that for us?
I love that question. I'm I'm a dad and a grandfather, and
Awesome.
being a grandfather is an incredible experience. So I enjoy spoiling my 2 grandsons as much as possible, and it drives my daughter crazy. But they live in
That's your
Redbud too.
job.
It is my job. I feel it's my sole responsibility to give my kids the toys and candy that my daughter will not give them.
And then
Uh,
send them home like my
and then say,
grandmother used to do.
uh, guys, I love when she asked me to babysit because those kids come over and it's fun time, and they get what they want really. So
Of
uh,
course.
they live in Redbud too, which and I'll talk about later, which is a big reason why I decided to run. Um, you know, I'm from originally Rhode Island, but I left home when I was 17 and I joined the Army. So my parents, back then, when you were 17, your parents could sign you up to join the military. And when I was really young, I had an uncle, well, a couple of uncles that were in the military, but one that I really looked up to who was a sergeant major in the Army. And I always wanted to be like him. And so as soon as I could, I joined the Army. And I had an incredible career. And you can see my wall of glory back there. I got to do things that most military people would never get to do. I was a cool part of my life while I was out at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, in the military police. I got recruited by Delta Force and the White House at the exact same time. And so I could go either way with my military career. And I called said uncle and said, "And what should I do? I mean, I'm going to change the course of my military career for forever." And he said, "Go to the White House." So it's a really strenuous process to get into the White House with security clearances and stuff. But I got to go to the White House military office, and that changed my whole life because I got to work for 3 presidents of the United States, starting with President Reagan. And one of my prized possessions is a letter from President Reagan for all the work that I did. And I just, that visibility into how our government works from that perspective and the importance of the things I got to do really set the course for my life. I knew that when I grew up, and go back a little bit, I grew up, which I like to call as being on the set of Sanford and Son. If you remember that show, my grandfather was Mr. Sanford. He was the junk collector, and he used to take his trash truck and go pick up trash. And my siblings and I, we lived above my grandparents in their house. And so where we played was in the junkyard. Our toys were made from junk.
Good junk.
Good junk.
And he didn't call you dummy, did he? Come on, dummy.
Sometimes
I couldn't
he
resist
did because
I love that show.
it's a great show. And yeah, my grandfather was tough on us, and sometimes we would do things with his junk piles that he wasn't appreciative of, and he let us know. So that word might have came out of his mouth. But growing up, and I would call sort of poor, I always knew I wanted to do more. I didn't want to be defined by my financial status growing up or the community in which I live. And when I got into the military, I really found my niche and started to excel. And so I just had an incredible military career, which led me here because I got dumped off at Mount Weather as the White House liaison up there and got to run some cool programs. I got to sit on the FEMA Mount Weather Management Council and do some really cool things. Then when I got out of the military, I was here in Winchester, Frederick County, and I loved it. And then I didn't want to leave. That brought me into an entrepreneurial career where I opened up with another partner of mine who I worked with, a security and safety business. And we grew that business here in this area to an Inc. 500 company that was the 172nd fastest growing business in America. And with 20 people, we were doing about $20 million in revenue a year, just servicing Valley Health and Shenandoah University and all the Walmarts in the region. And we did OSHA safety. So we got to sell OSHA safety equipment to a lot of the local companies. That led me to get involved in the Chamber of Commerce. So I got on the chamber board. I was their first ever Entrepreneur of the Year award winner for the chamber. Then I got in the public policy committee for the chamber. Then I was the chairman of the board for the chamber. And then when the president and CEO left, I became the interim president and CEO of the chamber. So I got to open up a lot of businesses here and do the ribbon cuttings. And so again, I got to see a lot of the inner workings of our community that way. And because of that role, I got on the board at Shenandoah University, the School of Business. I was on probably 13 or 14 different charitable boards and business boards in the community. So that gave me more insight into the community and what people did. And the whole time, I had never a notion to run for office. It was just me being involved in the community because it was a natural fit, which leads me to today. You know, I came here, I got a job, and I'm just doing my thing every day and being part of the community like I've always been. And then boom, Blaine Dunn decides he's going to retire. And I said, well, somebody's got to step up. So anyway, there's the snapshot. And I'm sure I'll bring up other things about my background, but thank you for that question.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Because we were also curious about what motivated you to step into the arena, and you're doing that
Yeah.
big time.
And that answers
And
an awful lot, Mike. You've been everywhere. It's pretty neat when you look at as we've gotten a chance to talk to people, what Charlie's done, what Kent's done, what I've done, what you've done. And God always puts together all of these pieces. And I really see, and I think you do too, which is why you're stepping up. We feel that he's putting all of the pieces together for us to really take back not only the county and the state, but the world as well. Now is the time. This is the greatest time in history to be alive. I really believe that. You know,
Absolutely.
Kent, do you have a question for Mike?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Hey, good morning, Mike. It's good to meet you this morning. I want to say I'm trying to work through my allergies here.
Aren't we?
I want to say you're the second guy I've met from Rhode Island. So I don't know if that says anything good or bad, but the other guy that I knew from Rhode Island, I don't know where he came from. Maybe it was Providence. I had no idea. But you also said Fort Sill,
Oh yeah.
out of Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
I was up in McAllister. Do you know where McAllister is?
Is that a
Uh,
Air Force Base?
no, it's an Army depot center,
Oh, okay.
southeast Oklahoma. I was up there in 2003. My background's heavy weapons and explosives. It's the largest munition facility in the United States, and they build
Hmm.
everything there up to nuclear devices. So when you hear in the news when they drop a Moab massive ordnance airburst or mother of all bombs, it was
Mm-hmm.
made in that
That's how I know.
facility. And it takes 10 hours to pour the casting, the TNT casting for that bomb. 10 hours. We're usually like general, like 2,000 pound general purpose bombs usually takes like 15 minutes. This thing takes 10 hours. So, you know, it's an interesting place. Not one of my favorites. I think it's really literally out in the middle of nowhere. That's where they executed Timothy McVeigh, who detonated the truck bomb
Oh yeah,
for
Oklahoma City bomber. Yeah.
Oklahoma City. So that's the only lethal prison that they have. But I didn't know if you were even out that area or if you know that area. But I worked with a few guys out in Fort Sill. Welcome to the area. I'm kind of like you. I was a transplant as well. And as Dana and Charlie knows, I've been out here for 5 years, and my long-term goal, it wasn't. We were going to live here for a year. Now we're going on 5, and we like the area. I'm up here. I'm outside of Frederick County. I'm the transplant into Warren County, and I'm up here on a little mountain, up here on Blue Mountain. And yeah, it's great to be in this group. It's great to do this and interview people like yourself. And though you are isolated into your county, is there any influence or push or recommendations for the people that live outside of Frederick County, areas of Clark? We have people in Clark, me and Warren, Page, Shenandoah. Thoughts, comments, or suggestions that you could provide for the folks our way?
Well, I'll tell you a couple lessons I learned. When I was at the Chamber of Commerce, I used to preach that we're all one large community. The people that live in Clark County, Warren County, whatever, you shop and eat in each other's communities. You expect when you drive, just like with the city and the county, there's this rivalry, but it makes no sense. Because if you live in Frederick County, you go to Winchester City to eat. You go to Old Town and walk around. I go to Middletown a lot and do things with Middletown, and I like to go there to eat. I like to go to Front Royal because in Front Royal there are activities I absolutely love. The Bing Crosby Stadium there for baseball. I'm a big Winchester Royals baseball fan, and I go wherever those games are. And you go to everybody's community that's in that league, and everybody welcomes each other. And you are creating commerce no matter which locality you visit. So we really rely on each other. And because of that, you have to try to understand working together on issues like crime, taxes, all impact us all. Uh, Education, all of these things are important for every community. And I'm going to be that kind of guy who is going to be looking, because Redbud butts up against Clark County. I'm going to be very curious. What are you all doing? And what problems do you have in Clark County? And what can I do with your supervisor and make sure where we're bordering it is making sense? I mean, people traverse from Winchester
Hmm.
through Clark County to go to work.
Right.
You know, like we are connected, and everybody doesn't always get that, but I'm going to look for ways to work with everybody. And obviously, if you support law enforcement, you have joint task force that work together from all those communities that work on drug issues and all that. So we got to stay connected. We have to push for connection. So, you know, I appreciate that question, because it's something that as an elected official, you have to be really cognizant of. You got to make an effort to push for those connections.
And
Yeah,
to
it's
add
always
something too, real
what,
quick here. Sorry, Kent. But we have a serious. We talk a lot about the schools, but we have a serious child trafficking, human trafficking situation right here in this state. This is one of the biggest, if I'm not mistaken, the fourth largest child trafficking state in the country. And it's because of DC and where all the highways come together and everything else. But with that in mind, just that piece in mind, be the connectivity between the counties is extremely important. And we're working right now with people in Loudon. We're helping a few people that are down there. We're helping them with prep work and communications. Mountain Patriots has a complete communications system that it helps out. Um, we're working with people over. We were interviewing a couple folks from for the board of supervisors that are over there in Warren County. We work pretty closely with Dolores Oates anytime we get a chance to. But Mike, you're right. We are more interconnected, and people like to put themselves into little pods. Well, I'm from Baltimore, or I'm from Towson, or I'm from Winchester, or I'm from Frederick County. No, we're Americans. We are all here together, especially right here, and it's our responsibility. Like you thought when you were in the service and so forth, it's your responsibility to do the best that you can with what you got for the country, and we're focusing on our little slice right here, as we all talk about in Mount Patriots. Trump is doing a phenomenal job from the top down. Okay, we have conversations on Doge, we have it on health, we have it on vaccines, we have it on everything. But it's our job after he won, especially, is to not just think he's going to work everything and fix it from the top down. It's us being involved, people like you, Mike, and Kent and Charlie and the rest of the Patriots, to work this thing and be diligent and serious from the bottom up. You have to be. And we all have to work together as a unit. You know, Kent, go ahead. I'm sorry. It just clicked in my head like that, because we've been down to Front Royal and we've helped Dolores and the guys in Loudon. So
yeah, so much stuff to talk about,
there is.
And there's so many important people in the area, and I just wanted to finish on one thing, Mike, and I appreciate your answer. Is that I was a former business owner, and there was one thing I learned in business. It's more important to have a thicker contact book than it is to have a thicker checkbook. Get out, talk to people. Even if you're not a people guy, you got to put that foot. I think you're a people guy.
Yeah.
The more people that you have in your corner, the stronger you're going to be, and the more contacts you have. I know a guy who's a welder. I know a guy who's a woodworker. I know a guy who could fix this, who could fix my axles, whatever the case may be. That's the kind of people that I want in my corner That's what's going to help you into success, whether you stay and do this or go and do something else. And that's my follow-up answer to your answer, sir. So appreciate it.
Let me say
Absolutely.
something real quick, Kent. You just hit something, where everybody knows somebody. That's what's really cool about Mountain Patriots. And Charlie will tell you the same thing. Somebody gets sick, we're there. Somebody ends up at the hospital, we're there. I'll share this with you. You guys know that I've been having problems with my water pressure. Okay. Somebody comes out, Mike, and they say, "Oh, we can fix your water pressure. It's your well pump and everything else, $7,000." I'm going, right. Okay. Right. So we have friends of mine. My buddy Mark gets me in touch with another friend of mine who I didn't think about at the time at Echo Water Systems. There's a shout out. Echo Water Systems, H2O, over by Harbor Freight. James Butcher came out here yesterday. Patty Sullenberger got me a pressure tank for a little discount, which was great. Okay. Mark hooked me up with the Butchers. He came in yesterday, said that $7,000 became $460. And everything works now because I spent $100 and something, $125 on a pressure tank yesterday to have it put in, $340 on the pressure tank. How much is that less than $7,000? Because we have a network of good people, good friends that are willing to step up and help you when you need it. It's not about what you get here. See, people trip over dollars to pick up dimes. That's my grandfather saying. They will trip over dollars to pick up dimes. They want to get as much as they can out of Mike or Kent or Charlie as they can one time. It's not, well, how do I build a relationship so that person's always in my corner? We might disagree on some stuff, but we always come back and reconnect and go, you know what? You were probably right. Yeah, we can work this out. But that is so important, the connection of people. And that's a great
Hey,
statement,
Dana.
Kent.
Thank you.
Yeah, Charlie, we have a commercial?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
You're stepping into the middle of an issue of growth
Yeah.
in Frederick County, and there's seemingly two elements to that. One is business, and the other is residential. And there's high pressure on residential against agricultural. And we need more business to support the tax base better than because residential doesn't support the tax base. I mean, it does, but not sufficiently. So where do you come down on those issues?
Ooh, that's probably going to be one of the toughest questions you're going to ask me today. In my campaign material, and since I decided to jump in this, I have used the mantra, growth is not coming, it's already here. I said that the very first night at the Frederick County Republican Committee. The Board of Supervisors cannot stick their head in the sand and pretend that we're not exploding. Over the last couple of months, Old Town Winchester was nominated or given an award for top 25 old towns in America or something to that effect. And then recently, a couple weeks ago, Winchester, Frederick County, I think, was nominated best place to retire. And that made national news and it was shared all over Facebook. If you don't think people read those articles and go, ooh, I want to live there, right? So people are coming for the quality of life. And when people come here, you can't not have schools and law enforcement and firefighters and services like Parks and Rec to support those people that are coming. We don't have a sign out on 50 and 7 that say, stop, don't come. So that's my big issue with, and I might bleed into some other future questions. My big issue is, if you know we're growing and you know people are coming here and you say we're a welcoming community, you can't complain that we have to build infrastructure. Because the people that have lived here a long time get mad because the roads are getting packed. People are mad because the schools are overcrowded. people are mad because they try to go to the grocery store and it takes forever to get in the parking lot. I mean, the problems are there. You can't ignore them. You can't do that with that three monkey thing. Remember that old cartoon?
Yep.
Sometimes I feel like that's been the case. I want to address these issues head on, and there might not be popular decisions that go with that. You brought up, do we need to get more businesses in here to help with the tax base? That's a no-brainer. The Chamber of Commerce needs to be working with economic development and the Board of Supervisors to figure out how to bring in more businesses, what's going to attract them, and then place them strategically in the outskirts of the county. Sometimes if it's retail, they're going to want to be in, but we have to bring in businesses that are going to provide that taxable revenue, because the taxes they pay on their equipment is key. So the Commissioner of Revenue goes, oh, we could tax all of these things that they have. Yes, it helps so the citizens don't get nailed with paying more property tax. Nobody that's elected is ever going to say, oh, I want to raise taxes. It's just not a popular thing to
because the
say.
commissioner isn't doing it, and that poor girl has to run around all over the place saying, my job is to collect them and make sure that everything runs smoothly, so don't shoot me. But it's got to be done responsibly, Mike.
Yeah.
And you're right. We're going to need people in here with jobs, because I know where Charlie's heading. I know what rabbit hole he's going down right now. But we need good paying jobs that are here. You got Clausen that's coming in here. We call it Willy Wonka. You've got what is it, Charlie? 11,000 houses that were built last year, another 900 or 1,000 that go up this year, and a lot of that stuff, Mike, was done in the 1980s with a different board where they weren't looking ahead with the money and what it would cost and inflation and everything else with the proffers and impact fees and things like that. So you guys actually, you can't make everybody happy. You're not going to.
Correct. There's no way.
My father used to say to me when I was younger, if 51% of the people are behind you, you're ahead. But you don't want it to be that way. You want more people behind you on this, but it's got to be done responsibly. And Charlie, doesn't it kind of lead, like we were talking, with impact fees and the jobs and the proffers and so forth?
Oh yeah, that's another question. Is I think it's on the table now with the board about impact fees, and we're stuck with proffers. We can't change the proffers without the Richmond's blessing,
right?
And the proffers which is an additional benefits offered by a developer during or before construction in order to get permission to construct more houses or whatever the facility is. And I'm on the board of I'm a planning commissioner on the planning board, and we're not allowed to tell a builder what we want in the way of a proffer. It has to be a totally voluntary offer from the builder, from the developer. So people are looking at Richmond, at the idea of going to Richmond and getting permission to institute impact fees as a standard across the board way of garnering more tax revenue. So have you been involved in understanding any of that issue that's going on?
Yeah, I understand it. And again, this is going to bleed into a later question probably, but I know that our board has not been very collaborative with that approach on going to Richmond and trying to really advocate. I think they're split on that notion. But I have talked to Blaine Dunn about that so I could understand the impact of the impact fees.
The impact of the impact fees.
We have to look at every tool available. And then you mentioned transparency and being upfront with the citizens. And I think that's one of the things that I want to bring to the table is to say, we have these problems. the tools that we have are very limited. But we have to address the problem. So if that means the solutions are these three things, those are only solutions. And what we don't do well as a maybe, and I don't want to criticize the current board, but what is not always done the best is communicating back to the citizens on what perceptions they may have and what those remedies are. Because when you look at the Facebook chatter and the stuff on Winchester Star Online and stuff, there are people who automatically assume, oh, the board, they're getting rich. The board members are getting rich off all these developers and stuff. And
but
I
they
think,
don't pay attention, Mike.
It's not, people don't understand the processes and they don't understand. But, I've been to most of these, hopefully my fellow board members' homes, and there's nobody living in a mansion. So there's this perception that because you're an elected official, you're making money and all these developers are walking around putting money in your pocket. That is not it. The perceptions are sometimes so out of whack. These guys, while they don't always get along, are trying to do what I call an impossible job. Talk about Mission Impossible, like the movie, trying to figure out how to fund all the things that Frederick County has to do when you're already running a negative balance it's impossible.
It's the likes, the wants, and the needs. I'd like to have this, I want this, but I need this.
Yeah.
And you're
Mike,
right.
You mentioned something that touches me is I like the idea of transparency. And along with part of transparency is education. Mm-hmm. And should you get elected, then we would love to have you help you with that transparency, have you on other podcasts to explain any particular issue or any particular problem that to help create that transparency. That's important.
I would do that in a heartbeat. I would be a welcome routine guest for you all.
We want to do that with people.
One thing that Blaine does really well is he likes to hold town halls. And
I've been to a few of his town halls. They're very good.
He's one of few supervisors, if maybe not the only one, that I've seen that has a town hall, comes prepared with data to share, and tries to answer every question. And he gets really tough questions. And he tries to answer them all and give people that sense that he cares. Now, he may not always vote the way everybody wants him to vote, but to your point earlier, you can't make everybody happy.
Who does?
But Blaine tries to be as transparent as possible. When there's a board meeting, Blaine has sat up there and been very transparent about the state of the union. Mm-hmm. We are operating in a deficit. We don't have enough money to fund everything. We are short. We are borrowing money. We're taking money of our general, our rainy day fund to pay for things. Blaine says it like it is, and Blaine's point is always back. So give us another solution, and I think I want to model that. Excellent. Because having the transparency, being upfront with people and telling them the truth is really the only way to ethically be. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question.
You also have to, Mike, I love that answer, because you also have to, we can't be beating people over the head if we don't like what their stand is on something. I mean, if you're married, you don't always agree with your wife, do you? But you come back to the dinner table and you still go to bed together. I mean, it's just the way it is. But I want to do a real quick shout out and a commercial, Charlie. We have time for that?
Yeah.
Okay, because Mike will see what we're doing here. And tell me if you can see what I got up here right now.
It's loading. Yeah, we can see it.
There we go. I just wanted to point out to people, this is upcoming events for Mountain Patriots Educational Ministries. Okay, here on our website, wakeupwinchester.com, lists all the Frederick County Board of Supervisors meetings. It lists all the stuff that's going on with Small Business Freedom Alliance and so forth. We're adding the school board. We're getting to, now to get a chance to see everybody from the school board, but there are also all of the podcasts and videos that we've done for most of the Wake Up Winchesters that we've already done. And Mike, we've done 8. And like I was saying at the beginning of this, we want people to understand one of the most important things for people to do, in my perspective, is you can't stand in a glass house and throw stones. You've got to come out of your glass house and you got to show up at the Board of Supervisors, at a Mountain Patriots meeting, at the school board meeting. You got to show up at a town hall. And we're asking you to come out to wakeupwinchester.com number 8. Well, like I said earlier, we're going to have the sheriff that's going to be there. We'll have Dolores Oates and Bill Wiley, the delegates, explaining what they do. We have Ross Spicer, who is the county attorney, that's going to be there. We also have George Washington. Okay, he's actually, Charlie's bringing George himself. Charlie, you are picking George up, right? Charlie always brings George with him. Okay,
I have his uniform.
Absolutely. So we're gonna make sure George is there. You know, he had to come to Charlie's house, get it. We have the Liberty Man, and the Liberty Man is fantastic because he actually takes you back into history. You know, Appeal to Heaven, the original American flag. We have then we're covering education, which is with Ann Craftatus, Virginia for Children's First and Parent Team 6. She is in Governor Youngkin's face on a daily basis. Okay, she is in Richmond all the time. And then we also have Dr. Sheila Fury for Virginia for Medical Freedom Alliance. And our friends, the Clouds, are going to be there talking about national events. And we couldn't do any one of these without having our good friend and Mountain Patriot, Rodney Wine, to talk to people about the election system, where we are, election integrity, and how things are going from there. So I hope people go to wakeupwinchester.com, make sure they get their tickets for this, and show up on the 28th. And Charlie, what time are we doing it on the 28th?
11 to 7 all day.
All day long, and we're going to feed
and
people.
includes pizza lunch.
It's not a moneymaker, Mike. It's not what we do. We need the donations to keep things like this going. So we're asking people to help us out. Go on our site, make a donation to Mountain Patriots. It all goes back to the community. All of this, all the stuff that we do costs money to run it. And we're not looking to make money. We're just looking to break even, be able to donate back to the community. So make sure you jump onto Mountain Patriots site, wakeupwinchester.com. And I'll stop it right there and we'll flip it back over. And Kent,
yes, sir.
Do you have any questions about his opponents or thoughts that I know you always have something that has to do with schools and safety, and that's a big thing for us is safety, Mike. Big.
Well, I'll just ask. I'll even go even more basic than that, Mike. You're running for Board of Supervisors. Can you explain to somebody like me what is that job? What's the duties? What's the details? I hear it a lot, but I just don't know enough about it. So can you explain that a little bit?
Thanks. Great question.
This is a great question. There's what is probably the legal definition of that position, and there's going to be my interpretation. I think the Board of Supervisors, aside from their fiduciary responsibilities, should be advocates for our community in general. And when you're an advocate for your community, you have to look at all the things that make your community viable, vibrant, well-run, fiscally responsible. When you're an advocate for anything, even if you're out there as a preacher or you're out there saying you got to do the good works of God, when you're an advocate, you put everything you have into that position. And you're not afraid to start something with a prayer or what have you. But in this case, as an advocate for the county, you really should be putting your personal feelings aside. You should really be saying, what are the things we're supposed to be doing to make this community successful. You need to think of this as a business.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a lot of the things that are, while there are some national political decisions that may touch us, a lot of the things that happen here should just be common sense decisions on what's best based on a business decision and what is right, morally right. And a lot of times, especially when I watch some of the meetings, past and present Board of Supervisor meetings, there's a lot of back and forths that are maybe inappropriate that really don't have anything to do with the decision on what's right. And you brought up school safety, and that's one that I'll talk about here in a little bit. But there's things that you have to do that are morally right and right for the community. And I think that should be, in my mind, when you look at the job of a supervisor, it's to advocate and be the responsible person you should be for the county.
Excellent answer.
And the school board is the biggest part of the budget. What is your thoughts on the relationship of the Board of Supervisors with the school board?
I don't think it's been all overly good. And maybe it's better today than it was a year ago, but there's always been contention. The school board should have the autonomy they're supposed to have to be successful, just like you're supposed to give your superintendent of schools the autonomy to be successful. This is not unlike what's happening in the federal government, where you have everybody trying to do President Trump's job for him. The judges are coming in
trying to be him,
trying to do his job, and you have to let people do their job. There are great people in the school system, and there are great people on the school board who want to do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
The Board of Supervisors needs to look at the school budget and how much money we're going to be able to give them. Then we need to let those guys do their job and work. Now, obviously, if there's data we need, we should be looking at that data and conversing like human beings that live here. And I mean, I've watched meetings before where it gets argumentative and people are yelling and screaming at each other. But the bottom line is we need to have successful schools. And again, to a point that Kent brought up earlier and that we've talked about, when Charlie, we've been talking about getting businesses to come to this community. Let's talk about common sense. If you're a big manufacturer, and you're thinking about moving to Frederick County or Warren County, Clark County, what's the first thing business executives are going to do? They're going to research the
labor
school
market.
Systems.
Labor market.
Well, the labor market for sure. Can
That's
you get
what I'm
employees?
thinking.
But they're looking at this quality of the schools, the school system,
Right.
public safety. What's the crime rate there? Right? Because their employees are not going to want to move to someplace where there's high crime and bad schools. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, we don't want to be Detroit.
No. And I don't want to get too political, but let's look at reality.
Baltimore.
Some of the largest communities in the United States of America that might be Democrat run, the inner cities don't have businesses.
No.
They leave. Crime destroys business. If you look at how communities are built, nonprofits and the people that are at the PTOs, the people that own businesses, always are doing what? Giving money to the charitable organizations in their community, and they're the ones paying money to send their kids to band camp and summer camp. And the people are going out to the businesses and saying, can you please sponsor my event? Can you please donate so these kids can go to this softball event or this baseball thing? Everybody's looking for sponsors. Everybody's looking for support. Well, what happens if we don't have viable businesses? That dries up. Then you're, I mean,
Unemployment, and it goes all downhill.
it go right. My grandkids play soccer through Frederick County Parks and Rec.
Love it.
All their little teams are sponsored by businesses.
Mm-hmm.
If those businesses don't want to be here because our first responders are not adequately supported, our school system's not good, those businesses are going to close and they're going to leave. Then our community starts to suffer again. Everything we're going to talk about today is connected. Mm-hmm. You can't watch one piece suffer because then it starts bringing other things down. And that's the thing that frustrates me is as a board and as whether it's the Board of Supervisors, the Winchester City Council, school boards, whatever, if we don't stop and realize that all of these things are connected and make you a successful community, then we're just being naive. Mm-hmm. There are people that literally don't want to support the school systems because, like, well, I don't have a kid in school. Great. But guess what? If you don't educate these kids, when you go to, again, common sense, when you go to a restaurant,
older, that person's going to be looking after you at the as a doctor.
there are future employees. Those are the kids are when we go to the restaurants and we go to the store, what if you get to a cashier and that kid can't count your change? What do? You get mad. There's dumb kids. They're not educated. Or it doesn't matter. But everything from how customer service works to how you interact at a restaurant or a store, you're depending on these young kids to get through this educational system and become productive citizens. So you can't go, well, I don't want the schools to be having any money. Well, if you can't attract good quality teachers, the outcome is we're not going to have great students. And then we're going to be frustrated as a community because we don't have good employees. Businesses won't come because they don't have the ability to attract good employees. Like, it's interconnected, and you have to understand that one thing impacts something else. And I'm sorry I got long-winded on that, but
no, that was good, because I think almost anybody that's watching this would completely agree with this. And what it comes down to, Mike, is everybody needs to get involved. You can't stand back and throw stones at anybody on the Board of Supervisors or anybody at the school board if you don't know what's going on. You have to be entrenched in this in some way, which is partially one of the reasons. It's a big reason why we're doing these podcasts. But I want to change gears just a little bit here, because the Mountain Patriots have been talking a lot. Charlie, I know you and I have talked about this, and Kent, about data centers. What are your thoughts on, and I'll throw this to Kent because he's been doing so much. I do organize a lot of stuff and I get my head down in it, but he's more schooled on this than I am. So Kent, you want to cover some of the data centers, because you got all the numbers for us. This is outrageous.
I do. I think I had a tab open, and lo and behold, it's gone. So I closed. I closed the tab, but I brought it up twice.
We've been talking a lot about this.
I'm going to paraphrase this. I think it's data center maps or whatever.com. Anyway, you could pull up all the data centers, not in the United States, but globally.
Right.
I want to say that the state of Virginia, I'm going to paraphrase this. I want to say I want to say it's close to 600 data centers just in the state of Virginia, where the country of Brazil, which is larger than the United States almost, only has 175. The amount of data centers in Loudoun County is unbelievable. It's over 200. I know there's 59 in Richmond, 2 in Harrisonburg, 1 out here in Middletown. So there's just only 1 out this way, but the rest are heavy in Northern Virginia and a little bit down in Norfolk. When I say a little bit, maybe, I don't know, less than 20, 17 maybe. Mm-hmm. And then there's a couple way out west in the, you'd say the Panhandle section of Virginia, like Wise County, Lee County. And they're popping up.
They're breaking up.
Oh, am I?
I can hear you.
Okay, maybe my Starlink maybe Elon needs to update the Starlink.
It works pretty well.
It does. But yeah, the biggest issue for us is
Energy.
farmers are selling their farmland. Um, I don't know. I was hoping more people would get into farming, but you get in, they sell it out. There's rumors about having data centers out here in Warren County, and it's going to be a massive strain on our infrastructure, especially just on our electric. And it's very, I mean, I wouldn't believe this, but the state of Virginia consumes more power than I believe anywhere else in the United States,
We
and
are
they don't have a power grid.
we're the largest
Yeah,
ones.
it's crazy. We don't have a nuclear a plant to sustain all this energy. Texas has their own power
That's
grid,
right.
but they don't consume as much as we do. And this is our big issue with these data centers, and it's a heavy concern with us. And I was gonna, Dana, what I'm sure you would probably ask, but Mike, what's your thoughts on this?
I'm probably the kind of guy who's going to, I mean, I'm going to take the position of, I would hope if a data center wants to move into a community, the first question that has to be asked is, what is what's the economic trade-off, right? Are we going to make a substantial amount of revenue that would make that make sense? How does a data center open without having the ability to have the appropriate amount of electricity? Where's it going to get the electricity from?
West Virginia.
So, well, this is a lot like
It's insane.
Hmm.
when we were talking about the mandates on electric cars, and they were talking about all the
2030.
trucks, all the trucks that were going to have, they wanted to have trucks with electric. And they were talking about how much power was going to be required for a trucking company to have chargers that would do it. And they're like, there's no way we could do enough electric, right? Well, data centers are kind of in that same boat. Is there infrastructure through the electrical grid to make that work? And I don't know. I'm not well versed in electrical engineering and how much electric that each one pulls. I would say, the first hurdle is how does Warren County envision, or how does that data center envision getting the power that it was required to even operate? That's like hurdle one. If you don't, you don't. Now, I don't know, does Dominion Electric or Shenandoah Valley Electric or an electric company go, oh yeah, we got that. We've already talked to them and we've got plenty of power? Because to me, that's question one. You have to satisfy that question. Then two, if you're going to have to change zoning to allow it, does the zoning make sense? You don't want to put a data center in the wrong place. So it has to make sense to me to do it. I've heard arguments on both sides.
Right, and the parts of the issue are, one is electricity, another is water,
Electricity,
another
water.
is noise,
Yeah, and then the
and it's
lack of people
important
that
that
they only employ like 12 people, so it's not like you're getting an influx of 50,000 people that are going to get jobs. It's
And
like
most of them are
12.
security agents, and
Yep.
the people that run it are the ones that are probably pulled from someplace else in the country to be able to do it. So there's really not a whole big job creator here, and they're here for X amount of time, and then you have an empty building again. I mean,
I
it's
got I got the numbers, guys, on that. 576 data centers are
I
in the
thought it was
state of
68.
Virginia.
Daggone it.
578, or correction, 576. Ashburn alone has 138.
This is Virginia. This is Mike.
Reston,
This is what's sucking all of our electric, and then we have to pay for all of that to get it going, which means our electric bills go up, and we're supplying the government again. Our tax money is being used to pull data and everything on us, the American people, and there's the infringement of all of our rights. I mean, we're paying to get, I'll just say it's screwed.
Just
I
just
mean, I
think,
couldn't
guys,
think of a better way, better
Loudoun
word.
County, Loudoun County has more data centers than most large countries.
Right.
So you know, Manassas has 79,
This is going to be such a
Sterling has 108, and like I
What
said,
has
Brazil has
anybody asked the
175.
question? Has anybody asked the question of their board why? Have they been able to show data that says, well, each data center provides us with $1.2 million a year in taxable revenue? Because the data should tell you something other than, again,
Yeah,
what's the economic
Loudoun County
trade-off?
is getting billions of dollars a year. Loudoun County is getting billions of dollars a year from the tax revenue from the data centers that are there.
And that's why they're doing it. I
So,
would say the
I
driver,
mean, the data centers are basically the cloud.
right.
Everything
So
we move to the cloud is in a data center somewhere.
so I'm not speaking for or against
And
it. What I'm saying
those
is
are
the numbers, Loudoun County is probably in a position where their growth rate over the last 20 years, which is now impacting us,
big
has
time.
driven them, and let's I don't want to, maybe it's the wrong phrase, but you got to make a deal with the devil, right? They need money. You can't, and this is the problem we have. And again, I'm being very upfront.
Devil's in the details, isn't it?
You can't pay your teachers more, your first responders more, right? Fire and rescue, police. You can't give your county employees a raise unless you have more money. You can't improve the parks and rec. You can't buy new equipment. You can't do teacher raises. You can't make school improvements unless you have more money.
Mhm.
You can't improve the roads unless you have more money. Right now, what I understand is, as a county,
all of that's common sense.
we don't have enough money right now to operate. How do you get more money?
They raise taxes.
Okay, so let's just put that right here. So what Loudoun County did was they went, if we jump into this data center game, especially because right, they've been doing it a long time, we're going to have more money than we could ever need. And the way they're balancing their budget, the way they're able to pay their public service workers there so much more than we can, is because they have all that cash coming in. We don't have that cash, so we've got to raise taxes on our people, right? So they did the deal with the data centers. They're bringing in the $1 billion a year, and if we don't want data centers, we got to come up with another type of business that we can attract that's going to help us fill that void of capital.
How much chocolate can we all eat?
Well, that's a good thing. If we can make a movie like
it was
the
a
Willy
joke.
Wonka one you mentioned.
Hey guys, heads up on this real quick.
Yeah.
The state of Virginia has more data centers than any country in the world. It's the largest. I mean, the second largest that comes in behind Virginia is Germany with 428.
We do not. There are other ways to be able to do that, and I'm looking forward to having this conversation with everybody, on the board. I mean, Mount Patriots is pretty plugged in. There's a couple other groups that are pretty plugged
Guys,
in.
I'm hearing half of the conversations. We're freezing up, and Dana's picture hasn't moved, hasn't changed for a minute or two now.
That's weird, Charlie, because
It's working good.
yeah, we're all fine. So I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so it's probably my computer. So
It's all your fault, Charlie. I think your computer
not to worry.
Your computer ate too many of Annie's cookies.
There's too many data centers, Charlie. That's what's going on.
They ate too many cookies.
And I gotta wind it up some more too.
Yeah. Well, then let's do this because we're coming down. We got another interview we have to do this afternoon. Mike, let me ask you a final question here as we close this podcast out a little bit. What are some of the final thoughts that you'd like to leave with us, and how can people jump in, and if they want to help you, whether it be bang doors, make phone calls, show up for you, what can the people of Redbud do for Mike Guevremont to help you out? Because we're over here in Back Creek and Warren, but we want to get this out to people.
Right. Thank you for that. The first, I'll say in closing comments, I'm running to help bring some common sense to the board. The last few board of supervisor meetings, I've just been blown away by the level of civility or lack of civility and the gamesmanship going on when I just feel like that's just not something that should be done in a public forum. I want our board to function on the ability to look at what are the needs of the citizens and how can we address them without this interpartisan bickering. So I'm hoping to fill Blaine's shoes and to do the right thing and to be able to, again, be transparent about the issues. How can you help? Well, I don't really need a lot.
You have
I'm
a
not
website
asking.
also, Mike?
I do.
Facebook page,
It's
so
my
forth that
it's
people can
it's my
check?
name. It's my name. It's MikeGuevremont.com. It's real simple. If people want to donate to the campaign, they could do it through the website. But I've really tried to make this not about people donating money to me. I am trying to do this with my grassroots, using my friends who are literally of all parties. And, there are teachers that traditionally are Democrat that are supporting me because they know I'm going to do the right thing for the safety and security of the students in the schools.
Amen.
I have people that are far right Republican that know I'm going to be fiscally conservative when it applies. So I'm trying to be a common sense Republican that's going to do what's morally right and that makes great business sense. So you can go onto my website. Again, it's MikeGuevremont.com, and you can look and see what my platform is. And when it comes time, right now I don't have an opponent. And once we get past the primaries and that I believe June 17th deadline, I'll know if there's even going to be an opponent from another party or an independent that's going to run against me. And if there's not, I'm going to continue to do some campaign work and be at the Frederick County Fair and get out there and support the other candidates that are running that have opponents. The goal for us is to have a board of supervisors that are full of people that are willing to work together and not have all this infighting, because we're not going to be able to accomplish things with people taking pot shots at each other, and it's not productive. We have to bring civility back and this notion of teamwork to make our county strong and to be able to collaborate with other counties, as Kent was mentioning. We can't do that if we ourselves aren't working together. So, guys, I can't thank you enough for giving me the opportunity to be on today.
I want to thank you, Mike, for taking the time.
This was great, and I'll come back anytime you want. We could parse out topics, and we can have this common sense conversations, and it's just a wonderful experience. And again, thank you for all you do through your ministries.
Thank you. And we want to invite you, as we do with everyone, we want to invite people to come to Mountain Patriots Educational Ministries. We meet every Monday night. We talk about stuff like this, how to help the community. I mean, last year, Charlie, Kent, and I, and my buddy Mark, and a bunch of us, we gave away, how much was it, Charlie? Like almost 4,000 pounds of deer meat. I mean, we've been all over the county. We've helped people, that could possibly lose their home or need firewood, things like that. But we do a meeting every Monday night, and then we all discuss the topics. We make sure that people are prepared in case something were to happen. We're in a really good forward movement as far as this country's concerned, but we always know that there's always the bad guy that wants to do something that's going to try to hurt you and screw things up. So we try to be a preparation ministry as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Charlie after this, but I want to remind people again, wakeupwinchester.com, go get your tickets, come to me, come to one of us, get your sweepstakes tickets for his and hers, and we hope to see you out there on the 28th. And we always, since we are a ministry, I'm going to pass it over to Charlie. We have our own we have our code of conduct, our credo, but we also have our Mountain Patriots prayer. Kent, fantastic job as always. Charlie, you as well. Mike, we want to really thank you for taking the time this morning and being on with the Mountain Patriots. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it because this helps everybody understand who everyone is so we can all move forward. Charlie, it's all yours, my friend.
Okay. Thank you, Dana. Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this beautiful world and this country that you've given us and the patriots who are willing to care for it.
Yeah.
Thank you for inspiring our founders to create this beautiful republic. Please help us to keep it as the aspiring place to live. Please give us the wisdom to do the right things, the common sense to judge wisely, the energy to never give up, and your unending grace in which we take comfort. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Guys, I want to thank you.
Thank
This
you,
is a
guys.
wrap for the Mountain Patriots Educational Ministries with Mr. Mike Guevremont, who's running for the Redbud Supervisor. And Mike, we look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks, everybody, for being here today.
Take care.